Well, hello and welcome to the Wednesday Word. This is the Desert Spring United Methodist Church podcast coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, Summerlin if we're going to be specific about it. And we're happy that you're here. My name is Julie Hart. I serve as the Director of Connectional Ministries here at Desert Spring. And this is week 2 of a series that we're doing called A Disciple's Path. We are doing a sermon series, so if you haven't checked out Pastor David's sermon on presence, I invite you to the website to do so. It will all tie in with this. But we're talking about the Wesleyan way and what it means to be a Methodist, which is we make a vow when we become members of our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness. So this is week 2, and we're going to be talking about our presence. And so I've asked some people to join me, and they showed up, which is cool. Thanks, guys. And I'm going to introduce you, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about yourself and your life here at Desert Spring. So, Lilia, I'm going to start with you. I asked Lilia, Lilia, first of all, I asked you because not only are you really involved in United Women in Faith, for those of you who don't know the Methodist acronyms, but also because, Lilia, you just always show up. You just show up. If something's going on, you show up to it and you participate fully. And we recently had a coffee with the pastor, and Lilia was sitting there writing on these little pieces of paper. And actually what she was doing is making little mini flyers to invite people to the women's event that was coming up. And so you encourage others to show up. So tell us about your life here at Desert Spring and how you got here.
Well, my husband Dennis and I came from California, like a lot of people.
Yep.
And we shopped around for several weeks to find just the right church. And Desert Spring won out very easily.
Desert Spring.
And we have about 3 things that we do every week as part of our routine. We go to the gym 4 mornings a week. We go to Pastor's Bible Study on Wednesday night. And we come to worship on Sunday morning, and we do all those things unless we're on vacation.
Yeah, you always show up. You're always present. You make a commitment, and you're there.
And then the other activities of the church, we come to almost all of them, especially if food is involved.
Because we're Methodists, and we like to eat. Well, thank you, and welcome, Lilia. We're so glad that you're here. And we have Katie Falter, who also serves on staff here. I'll let you talk about that. But Katie, I asked you to be here. You're a part of kind of a new ministry here at Desert Spring, the MOPS and Moms the Next, the mothers of preschoolers. Well, I'll let you talk about that. But I know that it's something that you are involved in, and you have you're serving. I mean, moms need a group. Moms need support. So we're really glad that y'all are doing that work there. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I started attending when I was a freshman in high school, the church. Mm-hmm. And then Pastor David got to marry my husband and I. Shortly after we got married, we moved overseas and were gone for 6 years. We got to come back. We started attending the church. Pastor David got to baptize our youngest. And then I am a Sunday school teacher with the little ones, the preschool and babies. And I also attend a community group that happens every Tuesday night along with MOPS, which stands for Mothers of Preschoolers.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the community group because y'all, even when we're not doing a church-wide study, you have a group of young adults. That's wonderful. We're so glad that you're here. And then we have Bob and Brandy Andrews, who have just kind of the powerhouse couple that have just done so much here at Desert Spring. And I know that you are always present, that you always show up to things. And I remember years and years ago, I think about this once in a while, when they were looking for a youth director here at Desert Spring. And Brandy, you kind of jumped in and served in between youth directors a few times. And Pastor David had asked me to do it, and I said no. but you were doing it and helping. Obviously, eventually I did say yes. But you were stepping in to help again, yet again. And I said to Bob, well, what do you think about this? And Bob said, when the pastor asks you to do something, you do it. So y'all show up, and you've been faithful servants. So, but tell us a little bit about yourself and your life here at Desert Spring.
Let's see. Oh my goodness, we raised 3 kids here, and I would say, okay, let's see, about 25 years, 28 years at Desert Spring. And I've always been a teacher of some kind of capacity. I just recently retired. I've retired as a teacher at CCSD, and now I'm trying to find new ways to build my ministry. I've enjoyed Sunday school teaching, camp counseling, creating ideas or inspirations for VBS. I love Pastor Dave's Bible study, and just his sermons. I'll go home and listen to them a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. And we are also Emmaus Sisters. We are, if you're familiar with Emmaus, we are in a group that meets every other week, and that's something I really look forward to being a part of. And there's accountability as a part of that group, so that's a real blessing to be a part of. And then Bob.
Yeah, so we started coming here, I think about 27 years ago with Brandy's mom was in Sun City, and the church met in Sun City at that time before moving over to Palo and then now being here on our own campus. And as Brandy said, all 3 kids were baptized and went at this church, and all of them went through youth at this church. Ethan even served as a liturgist for a few years and as an usher. And we've been involved in all different things, in a lot of different committees here in the church and Emmaus, as you said, Julie. And I enjoy my Emmaus brothers, who we meet every Saturday morning. And then every 3rd Saturday, the men's group meets at a whole, and that's always been a blessing to attend.
Yeah. And I have been blessed to have 2 of your 3 kids. Ethan was in youth group when I was there, which hilarious. He is a hilarious person, just a sweet soul. And then Casey, our 2 sons were at school together and did productions together. So go back with the Andrews. So a question to everyone is, talking about worship attendance. And now these days, there's a lot of different ways that we can participate in worship. I'm on staff, and so I'm really not usually in the sanctuary on a Sunday morning. Mine is usually Sunday afternoon or evening. But I'm grateful that I'm able to do that and to participate and be a part of worship. So I'd like to talk to y'all about why it is important for you to attend worship and your participation. Katie, I know that sometimes you get to come in too, depending on what's going on with the kids.
Yeah, with me being a Sunday school teacher, well, I'm here for all 3 services. So sometimes I don't get to sit in. But if there's no kids during the 8 o'clock or 11 o'clock service, I get to go in, and I take my kids with me, which I think is very important, that they go in and sit in and listen to it. They don't like that. They find it boring. But I think it's good to hear the word of God. And for me, sometimes it's just like a refresh for the week to just hear God. And sometimes it's a message like that I need to help me go about life. And if I don't get to sit in on a service, I listen to it on a walk or when I'm cleaning my house, or I try to find a time to listen to the service somehow during the week if I don't get to sit in on a service.
Yeah,
So.
which I think is so great that we have that opportunity. And I do think it's great. Yes, we do take our kids to church and they don't love it, but it's a lot of kids that don't. Then when they grow up, they're like, it's an unfamiliar place. They might have been at the campus a lot doing different things. So, but it's good to be able to be a part of it. And how about you, Lilia?
Well, I guess I like the cumulative effect of going to worship every week. And it's not very many pastors that you remember the sermon, on Monday, that kind of thing. I like to look around sometimes to see everybody that's come because we're like-minded. Maybe not in social or political areas or things like that. But we have basic Christian beliefs, and I like to look around in the congregation. It makes me feel like part of a community. And I guess when Dennis and I go to the gym during the week, that's kind of like physical nourishment or whatever. And then Wednesday night and Sunday morning is more spiritual type nourishment.
Yeah, body, mind, and spirit. And
Right.
I think that's really good. And I love that you brought up, it is really nice when we can be present in worship, sitting side by side. And you're right, we're probably not in full agreement on all areas of life with the people that we're gathered together with, but we are in unity in, our faith and our beliefs in that way. And the Wesleyan way is agree to disagree, right? It's okay. We don't all have to. And Pastor David talks about that, and that's a big part of all being welcome. When we say all are welcome and we live that means you are welcome to sit here and worship with me, even though, we don't agree on all things.
Even though you're on the other side of the fence.
That's right.
Politically or something like that.
That's totally true. And I think that's a really, really good message. And I think that's why it's easy for us to find home here, a place here. So, yeah, definitely. So, Bob, I know you've been a part of how long have you been a part of the choir? I've never known you not to be a part, so I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think I went on a walk a long time ago, and after the walk, somebody said, you should do something more in church, So I said, well, how about choir? I'm not sure I can sing that well, and sure I don't sing that well, but I've been blessed to be sitting next to wonderful tenors over the years, and they always hit the right notes. Just a nanosecond behind them is what I like to say. But sitting in the choir loft or standing in the choir loft, we get to sing the music, which is wonderful in and of itself, because Jake picks very uplifting and warm music to sing, and of course the hymns are also warm and uplifting. But you're also blessed to look out on the congregation and see people's smiling faces and their enjoyment of the service. And we're lucky to hear Dave's sermon twice, at the 8 o'clock service and the 9:30 service. And they are exactly the same. I can tell you, they are exactly the same. In fact, I listened carefully to the second service just to see, okay, is there any nuance difference about this? But no, they are exactly the same. And it usually takes me 2 listenings to get the message anyway, so it's good that I'm there. So, yeah, thanks.
So a few things to explain. So when Bob talks about the walk, you went on a walk. You did not go on a physical walk. We call the walk to Emmaus. It's a weekend experience that we have as a part of our faith journey. It's called the walk. So that's after that, it's how are you gonna serve and be involved. So I'm glad that you picked choir. And yes, the music, and also it's so cool to sit up there, because once in a while when I'm up there as worship leader or doing some kind of thing, it's a totally different experience looking out into the crowd. To me, it's a really moving and powerful thing just to be able to witness people being blessed by, the music, by the message. So, yeah, sometimes I have to listen to it 3 times to get it all. So.
And we're blessed to have incredible voices and have Voltaire at the piano, and Voltaire lifts us all up every week. So
absolutely. So Brandy, what about for you?
Well, I consider church my family, and we are just a wonderful family, watching each other grow. I'm not sure I've changed not one bit in 25 years.
You actually haven't.
Oh, no. All these students that used to be babies are now involved in the church, and they're growing, and it's just really exciting to see how they have embraced us also as a family. This means of grace for me is really important, especially because I love teaching children, and sometimes the world can be a little bit difficult. So if I come to church, I'm going to get fed what I need for the week. I'm going to embrace people that might not be that embraceable, and it just really, really helps me. I know that one scripture that goes through my head a lot is, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. And so to follow Jesus I need to find myself involved in things. I'm following Jesus because I want to learn how to be a disciple constantly. And I can only do that by having people around me that can show me his grace and love also. And the walk to Emmaus for us was truly a life changer, in that it was a time for, and this is not a plug for Emmaus, this is a plug for how it changed my heart, that it showed that God truly loved me, that, I always wanted to love everybody more, but to find out how much God loves you is pretty incredible.
And you can plug Emmaus because it was a very big experience for me in my life too, and it does make you want to show up for other people.
It does, and you had mentioned our every other week together to hold each other accountable, and it's fun. You stay connected. You find out that we're all human, and what's your closest moment to Christ, and what was your discipleship denied. Those happen all the time, and so to hold ourselves accountable, it fills my heart.
It does mine too. And I think, we do have a list of questions that we answer and go around, but I think it's great to show up and be present in those spaces where, as you go about and 2 weeks is a long time. Sometimes we sit down like, wow, what even happened the last 2 weeks? But sometimes I'm thinking, this is it. This is my moment, my closest to Christ moment. Or, yep, I'm going to have to fess up. This I denied. I didn't hit the mark on this one. So I think being present in that way, and there are a lot of different groups that do that, and being present for each other in that way. Which leads me to my next question, which is, how outside of worship do you find that you're able to be present for others in the church? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a ministry that you're involved in. I am always amazed to learn, when someone maybe is sick or something's going on, and you reach out or you'll show up and for them to say, oh, so-and-so brought a meal and so-and-so came and did this. And how many people, just without being asked, show up for one another? So I guess that's my question to y'all about, how are some other ways that you're present in the lives of others here?
Or something.
That's so true.
and you always know it's for good. Linda has a heart of knowing the community and who needs help, and we'll ask people to or orchestrate meals and delivering meals, and cancer nurturing, and I don't think Linda's missed a birthday card for anybody in my family. So that really is the way that I can help, is to follow, ways that if she says, like yesterday, there was a meal that went to a couple, and it felt really good cooking it. My family always eats better after that, and it felt really good talking to that person as well, and because we've talked about this, we all have so many stories to share. Yeah.
I love that you brought up Linda Chapin, because she just quietly in the background goes about, she tracks the prayer chain, she tracks what's going on in people's lives, and she'll sometimes reach out to me like, do you know if these people need meals, or do you know? I think I'm so glad that you brought her up, and I think you make a very good point about being present and showing up. Here's Linda, who's very well organized and got a beat on everything. So just say yes to Linda. Everyone, just say yes to Linda Chapin. That's the moral of the story.
She was very helpful when I broke my foot. She has equipment at her house, and she loaned me a knee scooter.
Oh yeah, Linda's got all the equipment.
Yeah, and I was having a little bit of trouble with my insurance, getting it approved and this and that, and so she was a godsend in that respect.
I love that you shared that. Yeah, she's a very thoughtful person and always looking for ways. And because she's lived that faithful life and has that grace, we all want to say yes to her. So, I think that's wonderful. Katie.
In MOPS, we have this thing called Mom Moments, where you can share like, oh, my kid got potty trained, or funny things your kids say, or a struggle you're going through. And that's nice because some of the moms attend the church here. And there's 2 of them that are in my community group that I attend as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're dropping their kids off at Sunday school, I at least go up and be like, oh, what you said was funny, or how are things going? Do you need help with anything? And I don't live close to the church. I know a lot of people do. I live all the way up by like Blue Diamond near the Silverton.
Mm-hmm.
So the most I feel like I can do is like pray for someone, or I don't cook either. So I'm like, I can give you a gift card, or I can like send you food. Let me know what you like. But I try and make sure I could check in on people by if I see them at church, being like, how are things going? What do you need? If I can help you, what can I help you with?
Yeah. And, I think that's great that people, it's nice to know, even if there's nothing anyone can do for you, it's nice to know that someone, is checking in. And I think you make a good point. And don't underestimate the value of your prayers. Sometimes that is all that we can do. And just, I think just, keeping someone in your thoughts and prayers and being aware of, the struggles that they're going to. I love mom moments because I'm sure it's hilarious, and I'm sure it's also very helpful for each other to be able to share in that way. Yeah. So good for you all. Bob.
Well, I was going to add, when you're talking about prayers, we'd love to get your messages in the morning and in the evening, the prayer requests for the morning and evening. And they're usually accompanied with some wonderful words of either scripture or some passage you've read that are usually, they're always uplifting, and they're wonderful to read. And it keeps us connected with people that, we may know the name, but we don't know them.
Yeah.
And they really have some amazing prayer requests that are wonderful to follow up on.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, thank you for saying that. I do feel very connected to a lot of the people, and some when I finally meet them, I'm excited, like, oh wow, and I think it's a great way to be present. It's a great way when we can pray for one another. So yeah, thank you for that, Bob. Pastor David recently did a sermon series on hospitality, and hospitality is an interesting thing. We're an interesting sized church. We have 3 different services. No, 4 really, because we have online service. We kind of have a, pretty big campus where we've got, kids in one area, we've got youth, and we've got the sanctuary. And so walking up or even showing up for the first time could be an interesting and kind of intimidating experience, I think, for people anytime they're choosing to go to church for the first time. And one thing I like to do, if they're brave enough to come and speak to me or someone drags them over to me in the lobby, is to ask people, how is it that you found us, and how is it that you got here today? And a couple things I love to see with hospitality is often someone is just naturally, they see someone new in kind of their perimeter of, because y'all sit in the same spots every Sunday. You know that, right? No, not you, Lilia. But a lot of people do tend to sit in the same spot. And so the good part about that is that they notice someone that is new and and quite often they will, talk to them or bring them to me. And I always love to ask them, how is it that you got here? But just being present for someone that's present for the first time is such a cool thing. What are ways that you try to be hospitable when y'all come to church or come to the campus, or even not on campus, but the people that you encounter?
Well, I wear my name tag all the time, except this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps if you introduce yourself to somebody.
It does.
And then when they pass the attendance
booklet
thing, I always look to see if somebody in the pew that I'm in is a visitor. And then I try to get them right after the service.
Oh, that's the best.
But usually I don't see anybody that's a visitor, but sometimes I am able to see that someone's a visitor. And
they've marked that in there. That is a simple thing, Lilia, that we could all be. I love that you said that. That's really great. Just being aware of that. I think that's wonderful. Yeah. And again, I go back to that pastor, the coffee with the pastor day. And I watched you handwriting every single flyer. So by the end of the meeting, you could go up to people, and there were some new people and new-ish people, and introduce yourself and give them your flyer, and invite them in.
The thing that I did though was I gave my information and contact information and the day and time of the next Deborah Circle meeting, but I forgot to get their name and phone number. So I learned about that.
Well, a lot of times new people, they're a little hesitant, right, to share. But you did. Yeah, I think that's great. I loved so much that you did that. It really was really sweet. Anybody else have ways that you try to practice hospitality?
With Sunday school, we sometimes meet new people that come to the church, and we have those kids that are always like a little timid to come in, and so we try to figure out what they like. Like, do you like cars? Do you like baby dolls? Do you like the kitchen? And we try to play with them that way, and I always have a flyer out for MOPS where they sign in their kids and try and like, here's this if you're interested, but I also try and get to know them and know where they're from, how they found the church. And on my day-to-day life, I just try to be nice to people in general, even when they're mean to me.
Just being nice. Well, and you make a point. Sometimes adults, they may come into worship for the first time or second or third or fourth, and some people deliberately want to come late and leave a little bit early because, they're just being a fear of being approached by someone. And I completely understand that. But they do have to speak to the people they're leaving their children with. Yeah. And so don't underestimate that importance of that hospitality that you show to those parents as they are, bringing their kids and getting them involved. Thank you for that you do, because I do know sometimes that's when I just look for lost people. That's what I do. I stand in the lobby, in the front part of the lobby, and I try to look for lost people and see how I can, help them. But it's great when they have kids, so we can direct them to, if they want to take their kids, they're not required to. Which brings me to something about children in worship. And you talked about bringing your kids, and they're big enough. They don't cry. They might not love it. They might grumble to you maybe, but I love that we are a place where children are welcome in worship, because, when I was a mother of young kids, when I'd go visit family or whatever in Florida or go somewhere, I was not going to be leaving my kids with people I didn't know. I'm like, I'm just there for the week, so they're just going to be sitting with me. And that was not always accepted in churches that we went. And I love that when, for so many years, if there were kids making noise during the worship service, Pastor David could say, well, that's like one of mine. That's one of my kids or one of my grandkids for sure, that they were his. They were his. And so it made other people that were a little bit worried about, I got scolded for my child using his pencil too loud in church drawing a picture. One time I'm like, wow, don't write so loud. That's not hospitable. So I love that we're a place where there's not too many places where, kids can not be. And so I love that. What about you, Brandy?
Well, I love to see all my friends that sometimes I only see once a week, and just look at them, and just that look and smile says, I'm here for you, Oh my goodness. I could name so many people.
Yeah.
I wait for Alma to come down from the choir so I can just give her a hug, and Heather. And but I kind of think that I might be the parish busybody, because I need to make sure everybody in the nearest pews have a good morning. And sometimes I find myself going, just sit down. But that's who I am. I just love to be hospitable. And now, not every mornings I feel like that, but there's always someone else that does.
And you make such a great point. That's got to be one of your spiritual gifts, hospitality. I'm like number one, and you've probably told me before, but you're a very hospitable person. And you never know someone that's there, not even just a new person. It could be someone that comes every Sunday, and that could be the only smile or hello that they get for the week. And so you're not a busybody. You're not a busybody. What about for you, Bob?
I think when you're sitting in the choir, you kind of hang out with the choir, which maybe is a good thing and maybe not so good because we don't interact, as much with the rest of the congregation on Sunday morning. We sing and then we go and grab a cup of coffee, sit outside, but there's fellowship within the choir. And there's usually some new members of the choir or the student scholarship singers, and getting to know them better over a cup of coffee is nice fellowship.
I love it because my office is like, if you go out the lobby and I cut through the playground to get to my office, and I love when I see the choir out there sitting and talking, and I know that you genuinely, and you just are a happy bunch of people. So I love it when someone new wants to get involved with the choir because I know they're going to have a great experience and that they're going to be welcomed and that it's going to be very hospitable for them. So yeah, Katie.
One thing I love about our church is that no matter what group you're part of, you're always welcomed. People are always very nice, make you feel welcomed, and are very friendly about that. And I love that about our church, how you can go anywhere in this church and you're welcomed.
Yeah. And it's a good point, Katie. And I think being present and being hospitable, they go hand in hand, because people that are willing to be present, let's face it, we show up. We're the kind of people that show up. That's why we're all sitting here talking about presence. But we're not going to keep showing up to places we do not feel welcome. And we've probably all had those experiences. Again, my kid coloring or writing with a pencil too loud. I don't live in Florida, but if I had, and I had just been going, I was looking for a church and had the courage to show up and kind of didn't feel welcome or didn't feel like my child was welcome to draw a picture, then I'm not going to show back up again. And so sometimes that's, you don't know. You could be the only person someone's encountering. And so to make them feel welcome is so important. What are some ways you might encourage someone to be present and to show up? What's something that maybe you did that you were hesitant about and you showed up and you were glad that you had? So I'll start while y'all are thinking, because this is a curveball question I didn't tell anyone I was going to ask. But when I first started attending Desert Spring, I knew Pastor David because I had been on staff with him many, many years ago at University Church, and I knew camp people. So I came here because of that connection, and I looked for the camp people because camp people are just pretty good people. And so I encourage people to go ahead and step out of their comfort zone. I did that. I didn't come here to be on staff. I came here to just participate. But the mistake I made, which I'm very thankful for now, is, then I did show up. I showed up to youth group to help while they were busy doing a little search for someone. And even though I was absolutely not going to do that, I did step out of my comfort zone. I showed up, and then I'm like, dang it, I really love this. And so sometimes, we resist showing up to things that are the best things and a real blessing. So anybody else have an example of a reason to encourage someone? Yeah. Bob.
So you bring up camp. That's an excellent example. So, you and Brandy have both deemed camps, and I was kind of dragged along for several of them because they needed some men to chaperone.
Always. We always need men in the
kids
cabins.
in the cabin. And I was busy at work at the time. This is a number of years ago. And said, no, I can't do that. I don't really have a whole 3 or 4 days to spend up in Potosi. But went and had incredible times. Always enjoy every second up at Potosi. And now every year, Cree Hamilton runs a men's retreat up there, which is very nice. And it's just great to be up at Potosi.
I love that. I love that you brought up camp. And it's funny because another longtime camp person is Amy Massa. And do you know that for the very first time this last summer, her husband, Chris, served on staff? I'm like, how in the world have all these years gone by and you have not been a counselor? He loved it. And you know what he loved most of all, or which I loved most of all, was watching him watch Amy and how amazing she is. But he made it a lot of years, Bob. He held out longer than you did.
Mentioning camp, there's several times where you have an opportunity to go to a retreat. Like Bob mentioned, a men's retreat. And I'll sign up for women's retreats and then realize, oh, no, I've got to give up this and give up that and not use my phone and everything changes, and I'm not going to be able to sleep in my own bed and take showers and all this stuff. And well, you do take showers, by the way, but and then I leave feeling like I literally was on the mountaintop, and it's just so refreshing, and so I'm really happy that I could take that time to experience that. And it's not easy. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to go have fun. I pretty much think about, oh dear, oh, what am I doing? Oh, I could be doing this or that. But
yeah,
every time, it's wonderful.
So many times you just spoke my life. Yep. So many times when you're like, oh my gosh, I've got all these things. And you're right. When you do show up and you're present, it's a blessing. Well, I am grateful to each and every one of you for showing up and being present. You live the Wesleyan way. I asked you to speak on presence, but I know that prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness actually is a part of all y'all's life, that you do live the Wesleyan way. And so we're so grateful to have you all here. I feel really thankful to be a part of church here. My oldest son reminds me all the time. He's like, it's a little easier for you. You're just surrounded by good people all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's true. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Can I just say one last thing?
Oh, please, Lilia. Yes.
Okay. In United Women in Faith, we say that love in action can change the world.
Yeah.
Love in action can change the world. That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. And I know that they want to invite you. You would love to invite them to United Women in Faith. I know that Katie, you'd love to have the moms out there show up for MOPS. And I know we're always looking for singers. Jake says if you can sing, you can, or if you can talk, you can sing. But I don't know. I only do that at camp, and that's because the kids have to tolerate it. So I know that there are lots of ways, and Emmaus, and there's just so many different ways to show up and be present. So if you're listening, and if you're not even here and you're from another church, just encourage you to just, show up. Just show up and see what happens just by you being present. If it's okay, I'm going to close us in prayer. Gracious, loving God, we give you thanks. I give you thanks for Lilia and for Katie and for Brandy and for Bob and for all those who are always present, who are present in the ministries, present in the church, present in my life, and I know present in the lives of others. I just pray, help all of us to be able to embrace the presence that those opportunities that present themselves for us to show up and not only to be a blessing to other people who may be there, but also to accept the blessings that come to us for being there. We just thank you for the Wesleyan way and for what that teaches us, our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service and witness, and for most of all the grace that allows us to live those out. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.